So we'll call this class 4 part 2. Last week we were talking about the idea of having a teacher or a rabbi, somebody to guide you on your spiritual path. And I thought it'd be good to start off the night with a little bit of a detour. So tonight the Chabad movement recognizes as some people call it even the Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the new beginning of Chabad. So it's the 19th of Kislev, and the founding rabbi of Chabad, they call him the Alter Rebbe, or sometimes you'll hear him referred to as the Baal Tanya, which refers to his main work, the Tanya. He was imprisoned in Russia in, I think we're talking late 1700s, maybe right around 1800. He was actually imprisoned twice, but the first time he was imprisoned by the Russian Tsar, and it's said that while he was in prison, that his predecessors, the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid of Mezrich, both of which had passed away, came to him in some type of prophecy or a dream, and they shared with him that the reason why he was imprisoned is because the wisdom of whatever you want to call it, Chabad or Kabbalah or the secrets were being revealed too fast and too many. So his question to them, of course, was, okay, so does that mean I'm supposed to stop? And they said, no. If and when you're released, it means you need to redouble your efforts, and it's basically your vindication that what you've been doing all along is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And sure enough, after 53 days in prison, he was released. This is the date of his release, the 19th of Kislev. And what's that?
What is Kislev?
Oh, it's the month of Sagittarius, the month of Kislev. That's the month we're in right now.
The 19th of December.
It's the 19th of Kislev, which is it's
the Hebrew date
the Hebrew
is different
month
than the secular month. The Hebrew date is Kislev 19, which is on the Jewish calendar, and it does not coordinate with December 19th. It just today is December 7th.
It's a lunar calendar.
December 7th, the year of 2017 is Kislev 19.
5,000 something.
No,
Yeah.
They
go
with different
within 6
weeks.
With the avocado
December,
started.
January, November, December.
We'll look at a calendar after. It's I'll show you, but because the
calendar.
the lunar months are 29 and 30 days long, so they're off from, which is why we have a leap year 7 out of every 19 years in order to catch up, to keep. We'll talk about this at Pesach time, to keep Pesach in the spring. That's what the whole calendar is based on. But we'll talk about that some other time. Yeah.
You keep saying, are you talking about Chabad now or Kabbalah? Only because you keep talking about.
He's the first Chabad rabbi. So when they talk about the lineage, of Chabad, he's rabbi number 1.
Right, but how was that? Now, weren't you saying that part of the prophecies or whatever that he got was that he was doing Kabbalah too fast?
He's revealing the Kabbalistic wisdom. Remember, he's the Baal Tanya. That's who he is.
The book Tanya is
I'm
Kabbalistic.
trying to relate Kabbalah to
Sure,
Chabad.
sure, I understand.
Is there a
So,
relationship?
yes.
I mean, other than teaching it.
Yes, because the Chabad is founded on the idea of
Kabbalah.
More or less. It's the idea of revealing the secrets, and that's where Kabbalah sits in that realm. Kabbalah sits in that realm of secrets. So each of the Baal Shem Tov was in this realm of very much enlightenment and helping raise people up to a higher level through secret teachings that had long been kind of relegated to the side, or were only passed down from master to teacher, from master to student. So he was the first one who really organized those thoughts. So there are several students. I don't want to spend too much time going into the Baal Shem Tov and his movement, but there are several students that branched off into various things. So like Breslov. The Breslov Institute is basically one of the branches of one of the students of the Baal Shem Tov, and Chabad is another one of them. And he was the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he organized, so to speak, the idea of Chabad. Chabad comes from the abbreviation of, or the acronym, Chochmah, Bina, Da'at, which all relate to different levels of understanding and wisdom. And that was what the Tanya was. The Tanya is an organized, systematic way to use let's call it the secret teachings of the wisdom of Judaism, which could be loosely qualified as the Kabbalah, in order to help people improve their lives and bring Mashiach and bring the time of the Messiah. That was his goal, and that has been the goal of Chabad and many, many other movements since then. So
Chabad stresses Kabbalah more than other.
I hate to use the word Kabbalah because I don't know how much they use the word Kabbalah. I haven't spent enough time in Chabad.
Kabbalah,
yeah.
The teachings that are in Kabbalah.
Yes.
They stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you.
Chabad.org is all Kabbalistic, really.
What's that? Chabad.org, yeah, it's very Kabbalistic. You'll find, in fact, I think on the first night, that first sheet that I brought in that had all those quotes from different rabbis about learning Kabbalah, that was from Chabad.org. And there's a great deal of stuff on there about Kabbalistic teachings. He tells a story. There's a story told of him, I should say. It's credited to many different rabbis over the years, but he's the first one that's really credited to. So there was one of his students was out in the courtyard near the city where they all lived, and he found a piece of paper with some of the handwritten notes of one of his classes or one of his teachings, and the student was very nervous, very concerned that this was a risk, that these teachings were going to be available to the masses, and that the masses weren't ready for this. So he brought it to the Balatanya, to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe told this story. So he tells a story of a great king, and his only son becomes sick, and he goes to all the town's wise men to try to find a solution, and the wisest of the wise came to him and said, "King, I know what the solution is. The solution is you need to take the biggest, most valuable jewel from your crown. You need to crush it and completely destroy it to the point where it can be dissolved in water and then drunk by your son, and that will cure him." So, the king is he's a little freaked out, but there's not even the slightest question in his mind. Which one's more valuable, the jewel or his son's life? So he does exactly as instructed. He crushes it up. He dissolves it in water. And as they're delivering it to his son, the whole cup spills over. Almost everything falls to the floor. Just a few drops is all that's left in the bottom of the cup for his son to drink, and it's enough to heal him. And the Alter Rebbe explains, the king is like Hashem. He's like our creator. He's like our guide. And the jewel is like all the secret wisdom, everything that there is, and it's all ground up and crushed, and most of it spills to the side. We don't even get it. But for those few drops that we receive, it's worth it. Even though you've completely destroyed something along the way, you've lost something valuable, it's worth it. The son's life is worth it. Our lives, our elevation, our learning, and our understanding, it's worth it. It's worth the spreading of the secrets of the deeper wisdom. It's worth it. So, hopefully, I don't mean this to promote the Lubavitcher Rebbe or not to, or Chabad or anything like that. I just hope that the idea of, again, having a teacher, having a guide, having a leader, and understanding the idea that these secrets, this Kabbalistic wisdom, that will continue to inspire you and awaken you and bring out new and better things in each one of you. Okay, so with that, we'll get back to our topic at hand. So again, we were talking about the idea of having a teacher, a guide, a leader. we talked a little bit about what a teacher is. We talked about the idea that the teacher is the sun and that we are the moon, that the teacher is the manifestation of the light of the Creator within our lives, that the teacher wants to teach more than we can even accept the teachings. That's how broad and great they are. They're people of truth. They don't just use words for the sake of using words. They don't invent things from their own head unless they tell you that it's from them. And they're not just giving you information and logic, but actually deeper understanding, awakening something within your soul. They help you to understand that you have a mission and that they have their own mission, and they drive you to a stronger belief in what that mission is. They awaken the idea of halomed mikol adam, the idea that the wise one is the one who can learn from everything and everyone. So when you really have a teacher, when you really have a guide, what it means is that everything becomes a learning experience for you. Everything. Whatever you encounter, it becomes something that's available to you to see something new, see something in a way that you didn't see it before, that you could not have seen it without that additional guidance. And they help connect you back to your maker, back to your creator. They always keep you on that path. Yeah.
So let's say we were in a setting of, like you're down there and there's 500 people and you're teaching 500 people. Like, kind of like a college course, something like that. Is each person supposed to try to make a relationship with the teacher, or do you learn from his teachings, but you don't necessarily have to have a personal relationship?
Okay, excellent question. So sitting here like I am and giving you the information that I'm giving you is a wonderful way to participate and to guide you and to help hopefully elevate you if you feel connected to it. But this is not a teacher-student relationship. A teacher-student relationship is a personal relationship.
Okay.
I encourage each one of you to find yourself a personal guide and teacher and rabbi, whatever it is, guru, whatever it is that helps you and guides you. Now, why? So, first of all, without somebody else to hold our hand in life, we are blind. We all have our blind spots, so to speak. Some of us have more than others. Some of us, it's more severe than others, but we just can't see beyond it. We've gone through some of the reasons why that is. A lot of it is by design, by the Creator when you were born. That's how you were supposed to be. And much of it is for the purposes of being awakened by somebody else to remove the blindness. That's what your blindness is kind of there for. It's there to overcome.
A little bit undermining a person's capabilities.
Their own capabilities?
I guess not everybody are the same, but still.
Well, but part of the idea that I want to share as part of making sure that it's clear, Judaism as a whole, Kabbalah, any of these paths within that realm of wisdom are going to tell you that you can't do it on your own. It's impossible. You cannot see through your own blindness, and that's kind of a good thing. Part of overcoming your own ego, your own egocentric nature, is being able to say, I can't do it without you. Now, who's the first one you can't do it without? You can't do it without Hashem. You can't do it without the Creator. You can't wake up in the morning without the help of the Creator, which is why the first words out of our mouth in the morning are, Modani, I'm very thankful. What am I thankful for? I'm thankful for something external to me that helped me wake up.
Because I'm thinking a discussion group, for example, we are having semi-discussion group right now, but in general, that's more a give and take situation, and that's kind of, for me, it develops more your thinking through, I know Limudei Gemara, and all those talking, or Yesh B'Cheder, that you discuss. For me, that's learning, because you discuss, you think, that develops your way of thinking. And a teacher, you're kind of putting a lot of weight on someone that doesn't necessarily for sure knows the answer. Or
Okay.
I might be wrong, but
Necessarily knows what?
the answers.
Okay. Yeah, Stuart, I'm going to come back to that. I'm curious what Stuart has to say.
That, 100 years ago, they thought that Kabbalah was not for the masses, okay? And I think before you can approach Kabbalah, you gotta have a certain amount of knowledge. And that's where the lecturer comes in. Otherwise, you can't go to a rabbi, you'll be spending a whole year on page number 1 if you don't have some basic knowledge of, Chumash or whatever, or laws or whatever. And I think that's where, like a class like this is more like a college lecture than it is really a discussion group, because we're trying to get as much information as we can to kind of, arouse our curiosity and get us to go further.
Do you ever get to know enough?
No, but the point is that, if, 6 years ago, if I'd have come into a Kabbalah class, okay, it would have meant absolutely nothing to me, because I didn't have any basic knowledge of anything else. So it's kind of like, it's so abstract that, you really can't approach it and understand it and talk to somebody about it. I won't say I could do it intelligently now, but at least if somebody says something, I have some idea of what they're talking about. So that's why I think that's something you gotta start at the basics. You can't start at the, at the PhD level and begin your education. You gotta start at the basics and then, work your way up. And I think that's what we're doing now with Kabbalah.
Okay, so they are two different but necessary things. That's how I'm going to say it. So whether it's discussion group, whether it's, like you said, Limudei Gemara, where what you're doing is probably arguing about something, maybe even one-on-one, or at most 3 of you are literally debating the same type of debates that happen in the Gemara. Whether you're being lectured to or at, whether you're sitting in a synagogue with 100 other people or sitting in a lecture hall with 1,000 other people, there is a wisdom and a knowledge and a set of information that can be transmitted. And when you're with a rabbi, a teacher, I like to come back to the word teacher, because when you're with somebody who's designated to see through your blindness and is designated to use the wisdom and the inspiration that they've received in their life to inspire you, that's different, and that can only be done personally. For some people, that can be a really, really good friend. I mean, a really good friend can bring people something greater than even the best lecturer can give you. Not necessarily the best rabbi, but the best lecturer. You know what I mean? That one-on-one personal discussion with somebody who really knows you. So the idea of a teacher or a rabbi is that they have been taught and educated in a way that they know your soul. They don't necessarily know you as a person. That's a very nice thing, and we're going to get to that actually a little bit further down. But that's not the same thing as knowing your soul. That was remember one of the things that we talked about last week. I think it's on my list here.
Traditional Yiddishkeit does not teach what you're teaching.
You mean the information that I'm teaching?
No, they don't teach that. You need to have a teacher.
You need to have a teacher
to take you through the life of
being
a Jew.
If that's true, then I'm telling you, you need to have a teacher.
No.
Yeah.
No,
you may be right.
No, I wasn't arguing. I was just making a statement.
Yeah.
That I don't believe that that's what they teach.
Yeah. Here was.
So where do you find these people?
No, I'm saying
Yeah, that's what we were talking about
traditional
last
Judaism,
How do you know which one is the one
Yiddishkeit
to
doesn't
give?
teach
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Well, let's get to that. We'll get to the friend thing in a minute. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ram, I just want to ask you, I'm kind of confused. If I read the Torah on my own
Oh,
and
there he goes.
trying to get meaning into it, are you saying that it's not good, that I will not get anything out of it?
No, you should do that. That's wonderful, but you're not getting what you need out of it. You're getting something useful to you, but you're not getting what you need to progress in this life. Even if you were an accomplished rabbi, a learned person, if you'd read every source of every piece of material that was out there, if you knew it all, literally knew it all, not as a know-it-all, not as a chokhmolog, but as a real know-it-all. You've got all the information. You cannot make progress without somebody to see your soul and to see what it is that's blocking you. You can't do it. It's impossible to do on your own. The system has been set, the game of life has been stacked against you. You can't do it. The ace of spades is sitting on the side somewhere. It's up somebody's sleeve. You can't get it if you're waiting for that ace on the flop, in order to get the full house. There's no ace in the deck. It's not even there. There's only 51 cards. I mean, whatever analogy you want to come to, you can't do it without.
So you have
So
to
where
have
do
a
you find
living
them?
partner. You have to.
I think what's difficult is this is a very Eastern concept. And you said it when you said it. So if you were to speak to anybody, a Hindu or a Buddhist,
They understand.
they
They
would know
would
immediately
get it.
what you're talking about. Because,
Yeah.
the word guru in Sanskrit means something to one who
Guide
delivers you
you?
from darkness to light. And, on that note, I think the important thing is how do you recognize a true teacher?
Yeah, and we started to talk about that last week, and I actually kind of said, I don't have a good answer for you there. I'm just telling you, I've heard so many different stories. I've read different stories. I've read different information about how people have found their teachers, even in some cases how teachers have found their students. So, for example, last week we shared that a teacher is actually a higher level than a parent. There are cases where a father and a son are a rabbi-student or a teacher-student. They have that relationship. That relationship is a completely separate and independent relationship, soul-wise, from their relationship as father-son. Their father-son relationship is one of physicality. Their teacher-student relationship is one of spirituality, of a soul-based relationship. And they are completely separate from each other. The fact that they occur within the same people in the same relationship is, I don't want to say it's coincidental, but it's unique and it's special and it's separate entities that happen to exist together.
Someone that helps you solve situations and bring the best out of you.
Right. It helps you bring the best out of yourself. And I think that's a big part of it. And that's why I say to you, they don't necessarily have to know you. So let's continue on a little bit. I think I'll hopefully answer a few more questions as we go. And I have a feeling we'll come back to some of it. So quickly, we went through a list of things that a teacher can do for you. They can awaken your surrounding light, which means the potential that you have, rather than just your inner light, which is the potential that you came with. This is the idea of you didn't come here to be a good person. You didn't come here to be the person that you are, no matter how good that is. You came here to be a better person. And a teacher can help awaken that. Again, they awaken your soul. And when they awaken your soul, what they're able to do is to help you make a permanent transformation. So, for example, we know that the way that a person is born Jewish is that their mother is Jewish. So there must be something about the DNA. I mean, again, I'm talking matching physicality to spirituality.
But
there
it
has to
wasn't
be.
always like that.
That's a slightly different discussion. Definitely something I don't want to get into in this class right now. I
Right.
totally hear you, and maybe at some point we will get back to that.
Okay.
But nonetheless, parent to child. Even if you want to say that before the Romans it was son to child, that's fine. Parent to child. So something DNA-wise that's transmitted. If somebody goes through a conversion process, from now on, that person's children are Jewish. There's no dispute about it. So there has to be some type of awakening within the soul that transformed the physical in order for this to continue to perpetuate down a series of generations. It has to be. I mean, that has to be within the teaching. Whether you believe that or not, again, I hope that'll awaken you and inspire you to have that idea within you of the marrying of physicality and spirituality. But that has to be the conceptual basis behind it. So when a teacher touches you in your soul and awakens something in you to change, that change is said to actually stay with you until the time of the Mashiach coming, until Messiah, until the time of Tichiyat Metim, which is the removal of death and immortality. It stays with you literally forever, not just till death, but forever. It stays with your soul. A teacher is able to be your mirror. Even if they don't know you, they're able to reflect onto you that which you reflect onto them. That's what their wisdom and their own guidance allows them to do. They're able to remove your blindness. This is what we talked about before. They're able to help you take yourself out of the picture. We're normally our own biggest obstacle, our own biggest blockage to our success. And a teacher can help you take yourself and your ego out of the situation. And again, when they really awaken something within you, you'll see the lesson that you took from what you learned. You'll see it in everything. And I'm sure everybody's experienced that in one way or another. Maybe you hear about some strange brand of car, right? And suddenly you start seeing them everywhere, right? It's the same thing in our spiritual learning. So you learn something you haven't heard before, and it sticks with you, and it awakens something within you, and suddenly every situation you encounter somehow is connected to that spiritual teaching. That's significant, and that means that you not necessarily that the person you learned it from is your teacher. Again, I don't want to be so bold as to say that, but they were a level of a teacher with you. They awoke something within your soul. Okay. So that was the overview. We defined what a teacher is. We defined what they can do for you. We started into a list of things that they can't do for you. And I told you briefly the story of Rav Zusha and a student of Rav Zusha who went, he figured that if Rav Zusha was so great for him, then Rav Zusha's teacher would be even better for him. And he was wrong. It kind of ruined his life. And the reason why Rav Zusha explained that it ruined his life, just taking 5 seconds to retell a 5-minute story, was because Rav Zusha was this person's teacher, not the other person. Rav Zusha was connected to his soul. And that's a big part of what hurts many people in their spiritual quest. They become shoppers. They become spiritual shoppers. There's nothing wrong with searching for the right teacher, the right teachings, the right environment. But when you go shopping for it, and you say, that one didn't sound good to me, I'm going to go try this one over here. I don't know, 90% of what he said was good, but I have a feeling there's something better out there. Oh, that 5%, that made me mad what he said there. I'm going to try it. When you bounce from place to place to place, a teacher cannot help you. No one can help you. So the idea is to try to, I don't want to say stick with it till the end, but to try and invest yourself in the situation, try to figure out if there is an opportunity for a personal relationship there. And if you see the development of that, keeping in mind some of the other things I'm going to share with you, that may be a sign that that person's your teacher. Teachers cannot give you humility. That's something you need to try to find for yourself. So when you walk into a meeting with a teacher, again, one of the goals is to try to take what you already know or think that you know out of the equation. So even if a teacher were to tell you a story that you've heard 1,000 times before, it's worth listening for the 1,001st time. And that's a level of humility that we need to drive ourselves to bring, hopefully into any environment, but certainly with a teacher. And actually it's explained, this is one of the reasons why all of our blessings start Baruch Atah Hashem. Blessed are you. So not blessed is the thing, not blessed am I to have the thing. That's another way some people said, I'm so blessed to have a great family. That's true. And that's wonderful. But when you say an actual blessing, the structure of the blessing is we start by blessing the external. We start by blessing God, that which provides to us. And that helps to awaken humility. A rabbi cannot tell you what to do. In general, if you find somebody who just wants to give you the answers, you probably have not found your teacher. It's not who you're looking for. You're looking for somebody. It doesn't mean that they never just say, "Oh, you know what? You know what would be a good idea for you? Try to talk to that person. Try to figure out the situation." I'm not saying that by itself is a sign somebody's not a teacher. But if you're finding that you're going with questions and they're just giving you answers, and more questions and more answers, that's not generally the sign of a teacher. And if you're prodding, hey, just give me the answer, just tell me what to do, that's a sign that you're not a student. It's hard to tell you whether the other person could be or wouldn't be your teacher in that situation. But if you're just constantly saying, I want to know what to do, that's not religion. That's not spirituality. That's why there are so many arguments in the Talmud. That's why when you even read the most basic Chumash, you're going to find 5 different commentaries, and many times in one paragraph this big, they disagree. Rashi says this, Ramban says that, and the Ashlich brings another opinion that's completely contrary to that. And that, that's why they use the term a chiddush, right? It's a new and
New concept.
Yeah, new concept. There's a better word. Okay. Anyway, innovative type of concept. Judaism and Kabbalah, they're not teachings of giving you answers. They're giving you a realm and a thought and a set of guidance that can push you through life. And that's true, we talked about it's even true of the laws, so to speak, because they actually go by the phrase halachot. And halachot, it doesn't mean laws. If you look at it coming from the word holech, it means it's a path, it's a guide. There are laws, chukim, I guess we would call them. There are laws, those are sometimes things that we don't fully understand. And maybe at some point we'll go through some of those too. Things like laws of nidah, some of the laws of kashrut. These are things that we don't necessarily understand. But the rest of it, the halachot, they're actually there for us to dig and understand and see various opinions and work with and incorporate into our lives to guide us towards a higher path.
Some people will debate them.
Yes.
Some people take it as an order, not as a
and it's not to say that you shouldn't do them. I hate to say just that you shouldn't do them. That
but they become fanatic about.
Yes,
making them everybody to obey.
It's
them.
concerning.
That's like.
It would in my mind it would also be again a sign that somebody is not your teacher. If they are simply trying to tell you what the laws say. Oh, let's go look it up in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Okay, here's what you do. I would say this is it's not a great sign.
But most of the rabbis, I'm sorry for interrupting the flow, but
yeah.
Most of the rabbis give you an answer of what to do because most of the people, I don't know most, but a lot of the people would not look for a whole process of how to think and process it, but just, hey, what do I do with that, Rabbi? You should do this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. So they're not their teacher, but halakha goes like this.
My wife and I have this discussion / argument frequently, and we're not so sure that it's most anymore. Mm-hmm. I used to think it was most also, because I felt like it was very unusual that I would find myself in an environment where the rabbi or the head person would choose to explain or expound upon the discussion in a way that would influence your life rather than just giving you an answer. But I'm finding it more and more. I'm finding it from all kinds of sources and all kinds of places. I'm finding more and more books that are written from this concept of guidance and inspiration rather than answers. So I guess I'm going to say it maybe in an unfair way, but I hope you're wrong. I think you're right, but I hope you're wrong. So, and if you find yourself in that environment, My humble opinion is that's not a positive environment for most people. They won't find the guidance that they need to bring themselves to a higher level.
Certain areas in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Meir Sharim.
That is what it feels like. For us, from the outside looking in, they appear to be extreme. They appear to be driven by these types of things. I hope that one of the things that we'll reach in this room is the inspiration not to judge for any reason, regardless of what it looks like from the outside.
It's interesting because, like, people like in B'nai Brak or Meir Sharim, I feel like we need them to be the way they are, and they need us to be the way we are, so that we all can coexist as a Jewish people and progress.
Well, they believe that redemption will not arrive this way.
Well, I believe it will.
Well, unity is a huge part of this. I mean, finding common ground and finding unity, and I believe just from what I've seen in recent years, there's more unity and more of that thought going on in the inside of many of those places than many of us believe. And that I think that they probably have their own judgments of us looking from the inside out as well, that are not consistent with what they would really find. You know, people on the outside, they dress a certain way, they behave a certain way, and therefore they must think and learn a certain way, or not think and learn in the way that they should. And I think that there is slowly becoming an awakening that that's not as true as it once was, and I hope that that's the direction that we're going. I think it's a topic we'll come back to also, the idea of extremes and middle grounds and finding unity, and what unity really means. I think those are all ideas we'll come back to.
Ellie,
Yeah.
these concepts that you're describing, are these taught in school?
Wouldn't you like them to be?
That's not my question. Okay, my question is...
You're asking whether or not they're taught like in a yeshiva.
I mean, I only went to Hebrew school.
Yeah.
4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't have paper and pencil, we
Yeah.
had stone. Okay, but there was never any discussion of any of these things. The whole
So,
purpose of going to Hebrew school was to learn to read and to write,
yeah,
and to learn history and to learn culture.
yeah,
And then, out into the world.
yeah,
Because, I didn't grow up in a really a Jewish neighborhood.
yeah,
So that was kind of like the end of education. So, and I think that, if I wasn't here, in young Israel, and if I was in someplace else, I wouldn't have any concern about what Kabbalah was. I wouldn't even know what it was. I would view my education as being, using the Chumash as a guide for life. Okay, and thinking that if I studied it and I understood it and I followed all the halachas, that would be it. There wouldn't be any need to expand. It may sound dumb, but no need to expand my mind to deal with all the spirituality. You understand what I'm saying?
So I'll give you a couple of answers. So first of all, this year for me is the first year that I've used the stone chumash, the blue one that you find in most Orthodox shuls. It's the first time I've used it as my primary chumash. I've used several other ones over the years. The first time I've used this one. I'm almost shocked and impressed by how deep and spiritual almost all the commentary is. It's really wonderful and fantastic and awakening. And there's only sporadic places where they kind of say, and this is why we follow the halacha where one guy doesn't marry his, two sisters. Honestly, it's just sporadic here and there. Most of it is there for inspiration. Maybe it's going to get a little more boring. We'll see what happens around, Leviticus or so while, they're wandering the desert and going through the intricacies of the dimensions of the Mishkan. But in the meantime, I'm loving it and finding inspiration in everything I read, even when I've read similar concepts before. So I think, and this is not a new book by any means. I'm not sure what the original publication date is, but I think it's at least a couple decades old now. And the other experience I can share with you is from one of my children. My son Eitan he's in his first year of college, which he's spending in yeshiva in Israel, and he spent the last 4 years at high school in Israel in Los Angeles. And I was very nervous and scared for him, and I heard the kind of teachings he was coming home with, and each day sounded worse than the one before. And then at some point, it shifted. I don't know whether he shifted, I don't know whether it shifted, I don't know whether the teaching shifted, I don't know whether the rabbis changed, but he speaks in a very different tone, in a very different manner. He's finding great inspiration and love and care in all areas of his life in this year in Israel. And it's not like he specifically chose a yeshiva for its great spiritual guidance and teachings. He felt connected to it. He shared with me after his trip and visit that was the one he wanted to go to because he felt very connected there. But it's a kind of normal, everyday yeshiva over there for American students. And this seems to be more consistent with where things are these days. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right. It feels good to hear it and see it, and to see more and more YouTube videos popping up with rabbis speaking this way, and more books coming out that are not just speaking somebody's opinion, but actually quoting sources of all kinds of ancient wisdom that are deep and meaningful and spiritual and awakening. And then I think you have a whole other group of society which has completely abandoned spirituality, and they're into physicality altogether, whether it's religious or agnostic or atheist. And I think we'll always be facing that. But in the meantime, it seems like the people who have the potential to become more spiritual, I feel like are becoming more spiritual. That's my own personal experiences. So I grew up probably similar to how you did, so I know what you feel. I was looking for inspiration and didn't find it, and kind of left organized religion for a while because it just wasn't there. So I hope we'll all find something different. Okay. So actually, we were just kind of talking about this. The next thing on my list is a teacher cannot cause you to remove judgment of others. So it's best when you walk into a meeting with a teacher to first start by trying to remove your judgment of them, what they look like, what they sound like, things like that. Remove your immediate feelings or impressions based on those types of influences. And also understand that at the end of the day, your teacher is in the same situation that you are. So if you've really found a teacher, it means your teacher has a teacher, which means on their own level, they're dealing with the same things that you are. They're dealing with their tikkun. They're dealing with the things that they need to correct, that they need to improve in their own lives. So if you find that your teacher has shortcomings, that's fine. That's normal. That's a good thing, as long as they also have a teacher. Which I think I mentioned this. That's one of the definitions of a teacher. It was actually number 2 on my list here. A teacher has his own teacher. If you find somebody who's not at least somewhat frequently talking about the person that they learned from or are currently learning from, you probably haven't found a real teacher. That's just a fact. So that's part of removing your judgment, is understanding your teacher also has their own process, just like yours, that they're going through. They're not perfect. Yeah.
Well, the Tanakh scripture is not divine. The Torah is divine. So therefore, why rely so much 100% on the rabbi? He's just a mere man like myself. Why not rely on the Torah, which is divine?
You are through the rabbi. So if the rabbi is relying on a pathway. Let's call it that. A real rabbi, a real teacher is relying on a pathway that takes him from his or her position through their learnings, their teachings, like the Gemara, through something that's perfect, like the Torah, all the way back to Hashem. That's what they're doing. They're tracing you back through that path. So you're correct. And a good rabbi will tell you that. They'll say, I'm not perfect. The teachings and the writings are perfect. My desire is to help you connect to perfection. Through me, I'm your channel of that connection. I'm not your actual connection. So if somebody, again, makes themselves out to be your source of wisdom, your source of information, your source of guidance, if they make themselves out to be that, they're probably, again, not a teacher. They're not speaking or channeling from a place of wisdom. If you want to take it to the highest level, you'd call it Ruach HaKodesh, you'd call it divine inspiration. I mean, that's the ultimate teacher. Somebody who literally is basically not even speaking to you at all. God is speaking directly through them. This is the path of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses spoke in a manner where he was just basically a pure channel of the words of Hashem, which is why they ended up in writing on the scroll. Our rabbis generally are not, but you want to have this sense that that's what they're doing. They're channeling something from a higher source, from their teacher, through the Torah, all the way back to the Creator. That's what they should be channeling. So yes, they're not perfect, but they're channeling from a perfect source to you. And there are cases where you can be a teacher too. So, sometimes you make a personal connection with somebody, you should also be always thinking about the same thing for yourself. When you're preparing to share some wisdom with somebody, you can kind of train yourself in the back of your head to always be thinking, okay, God, help me with my words, help me with my words, help me with my words, help me with my words. The Torah, I'm calling on the Torah to help me to speak words of wisdom, not to speak my own thoughts, not to speak my own ideas, to speak true wisdom, not knowledge, not information, wisdom. So whenever we're in that situation, we want to be feeling like the person who's speaking to us is speaking from those perfect sources. We talked about before that a teacher is your mirror. So if you walk up to a mirror and you kind of put your hand over the parts about yourself that you don't like the most, well, you won't be able to see them in the mirror to fix them or whatever you need to do. So it's the same thing with a rabbi. If you don't share of yourself, if you don't open up, if you're not willing to say what's on your mind, what's going on, don't worry about it being perfect how you say it. Definitely don't worry about impressing somebody with the things that you already know or that you supposedly see about yourself. But if you're not open, if you don't choose to tell the truth, a rabbi cannot make you do these things. In order for them to be your mirror, you need to come into a situation where you're open and truthful with the person sitting across from you. A teacher cannot make you stay with them. So this is kind of going back to the idea of spiritual shopping. So you're not relying on somebody to tell you, you need to stay with me. I'm your teacher. I'm your one. Come back to me. Call me. Write me. Come visit me. Make appointments with me. You're not relying on that. You can't rely on that. If you find that that's what's happening, so again, it's probably a good sign that they're not your teacher. And if you find that you're just simply not making any effort, that's on you. It's not on your teacher to tell you constantly to make the effort to come see them or call them or open up to them. That's on you. So they can't make you stick with them. They cannot make you come and see them. They cannot make you come to problems. They cannot read your mind in most cases. Hopefully some of the best ones can, but generally they can't. You have to be ready to be open. You cannot expect a quick fix. Even if they give you an answer, even if it seems clear and clean, you cannot expect that overnight it will fix whatever your problem is. One of the stories that I read in preparing for this was the story of the relationship with the Ari and his primary student, Rabbi Chaim Vital. Whenever we talk about the teachings of the Ari, the writings of the Ari, they're actually the writings of Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Chaim Vital wrote down everything that the Ari taught him. There's some amazing stories about that, but one of the things I wanted to share was there was a story of Rabbi Chaim Vital, and again, because he's the one writing the teachings of the Ari, he's saying, I came to my teacher, meaning the Ari, and I told him, I feel like I'm failing you. I feel like I'm falling off the path. And And he says, and the Ari spoke to my soul. That's what he writes in there. The Ari spoke to my soul. They had a discussion and a negotiation. And when he came back to speak to me, he told me that it was going to take 2.5 years. Actually, he started by saying it's going to take 40 days. You need to fast I think he said you need to fast every Monday and Thursday for the next 40 days. That's what you need to do for the next 40 days. So most of the way through that process, the Ari saw him and said, sorry, it just got extended to 2.5 years. And there's no way. I've searched through the heavens. I've had a discussion with your soul. There's no way to rush the process. It's going to take 2.5 years. And he discusses, even from there, that he failed along the way several times. There was even a point when the Ari came to him and said, all the work you've done to this entire point, you lost all of it because you became angry one day. We're going to have a class, I think, where we talk just about anger. But specifically for Rabbi Chaim Vital, that was part of his tikkun, to overcome his issues of anger. And it took him years of study, 2.5 years of study with the Ari to get to where he was supposed to be in all of his teachings. And then the last point that I want to make, which comes back to part of what we talked about before, your teacher cannot promise to like you or be your friend. That's not a guarantee. It's very nice if they do. It can be very helpful. It can cause them a bit of blindness if they're too close to you, or it can cause them to make excuses on your behalf, which is not obviously the best thing. Hopefully they're not influenced by those things. But you can't expect somebody to like you. And again, you certainly shouldn't try to impress upon them something that's so great or powerful about you, or how wise you are, how many stories you know, or all the halachot you followed this week that you didn't follow the previous week. That's not helping you. That idea of trying to get them to like you, or them even liking you, or you even feeling a friendship type affinity with a teacher, is not, it's not meaningful from the standpoint of them being your teacher. And so it's very important not to get caught up in that idea. How are we doing?
Why would they be your teacher if they don't like you?
Because they don't need to like you. Because a true teacher is seeing into your soul. That's probably not easy for most people. So you might find it very, very difficult, and your teacher might find it difficult to be your teacher if they don't at least find some type of affinity or like you a little bit. But the truth is, they don't have to.
I've read somewhere where as soon as you have this physical body, you cannot see soul. And you say that the rabbi can see through my soul?
Well, the rabbi is there to awaken things within your soul. Okay? They're there hopefully to say things to you. Listen, the story that I told you of the Ari and Rabbi Chaim Vital, I'm not really sure what to make of that story. It's an amazing and beautiful idea. I couldn't tell you whether there's anyone in this physical world who can actually talk to your soul, bypass your body and speak to your soul. I have no idea. I really don't know. But the idea is that they should see through aspects of your physical self and the stories you're telling them to inspire you in a way that awakens something within your soul, awakens something that's beyond the physical. I promised Nancy a while ago that I would get back to the idea of paying for a teacher. So I did some research on this, and I spoke to Rabbi Wein about it a little bit as well. And it's interesting how it all kind of works out. So in the Mishnah Torah, which is the book of the Rambam, he refers to a discussion in the Talmud, in Nedarim, which relates to a story in Proverbs. And the saying in Proverbs goes this way. It says, buy the truth, so it gives you the impression that you should pay for it, but never sell it. So it's permitted to pay somebody to teach you Torah. In general, it's not permitted for the rabbi to accept payment. It's not permitted for the rabbi to sell it. So it's an interesting discussion, and it's interesting the way it bounces kind of back and forth in this, the You're talking about writings that are about 500 years old and ones that are, let's say, 1900 years old. And so I had to go to the rabbi and just ask him, so how does this play out in reality?
Donations.
So sort of, yes.
That's how they call it.
So the idea is that when you are
That you have to
paying a rabbi, when you're paying a rabbi, you're not paying the rabbi as a person. You're paying them as a source of wisdom, so that they're not off
Insurance.
selling insurance. I think that's the exact.
Conversation.
That's right. You were. That's right. So they're not off selling
You did a good
insurance.
job, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I've got another story that I'm sharing from Rabbi Wein, hopefully tonight too. So you'll tell me if I did a good job with that one. So that's the idea. You're paying them so that they're not off selling insurance, so that they're not off doing a day job that's preventing them from
Giving
spreading
over their
wisdom. That's right. That's right. If you find that you're truly paying them like a salary, that could be more of a problem for them than it is for you. There's a whole discussion in Darim that I read, again, that I don't really understand, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but it says that you're allowed to pay for the Torah in a town where it's customary to pay for the Torah starting when your son is at the age of 13, but only until they're 20, and they can pay for somebody to teach written Torah, but not oral Torah. And that's why I said I just had to go to the rabbi and just said, how does this play out practically speaking? So this is the way it plays out practically speaking. If your contributions are allowing somebody to teach where otherwise they'd have to support themselves in a way where they couldn't teach, that's acceptable for you and for them. But otherwise, it's problematic. They can't sell the wisdom, so to speak.
Meaning they can't have a price chart on the wall?
So tzedakah, in other words, tzedakah.
I don't,
So
you
got
know,
a mitzvah.
I-
Tzedakah, mitzvah, that you pay.
I don't know because I can't explain to you how the rabbi then treats it. Because if for you it's giving tzedakah and the rabbi's accepting it, how does that play into the? I don't know. I'm telling you the information that Rabbi Wein gave me because it's the best that I have to share with you. You know, it literally says in Proverbs, buy the truth but never sell it. That's what it says, and that's the fulfillment of that idea is what I'm sharing with you here. That it's okay to pay somebody to teach you. It's not okay for the teacher to accept it for
Or
simply.
require it. Maybe it's not acceptable for him.
It wasn't the word that Rabbi. It
Require
wasn't the
it.
word that Rabbi Wein used. Rabbi Wein was specific in what he said, and that's all I can share with you. He said you're paying it so that person isn't going and selling insurance.
That I understand.
That's what you're doing.
You put it in the kuppah of the Bet Knesset, and it's supposed to be for the Bet Knesset.
Bezrat Hashem. Okay, I wanted to get back to that because I promised to get back to it. Maybe I'll quickly go through a few more things just because, even though it's kind of late. Everybody's okay with time? All right. I'll try and go through this quickly because all right. Actually, I'm gonna go through one more story and then we'll pick this up next week. So I only had one more topic left, but it could take some time to get through. The topic is how to connect with your teacher on a higher level. So Rabbi Wein, again, shared in connection with some things that I was discussing with him on this topic, that many, many years ago he went to his own rabbi after having studied with him for several years already. And when he went to his rabbi and he said, how would somebody pay back a person that they can never really pay back, who shared so much with them, who's given them so much wisdom, who's guided them in their life so well? How can somebody pay that person back? And his rabbi shared with him, what you do to pay somebody like that back is you dedicate yourself to that person's mission. And that is the highest level of a teacher relationship, is when you find somebody not just to have a mission, which we talked about earlier, that is an important definition of a teacher. A teacher, again, can't be somebody who's just sharing wisdom. They need to be somebody who's driven by some type of higher mission. But you feel like you can connect yourself to that teacher's mission. That will connect you to everything that's preceded that person. So, for example, if I were to say that I wanted to connect to what I saw as Rabbi Wine's mission, because Rabbi Wine is connected to his teacher's mission, I become automatically connected to his teacher. Automatically. And in a way of speaking, I become divinely inspired by his wisdom without ever even meeting him, talking to him, anything like this. I'm going to share a story. We'll close it up here, and then I'll come back to some other really amazing stuff about relationship between the Ari and Rabbi Chaim Vital and some other rabbis here, other student-teacher relationships. We're going to come back to the story of Joshua, who became the teacher of the Jewish people, basically, when Moshe passed away at the end of the Torah. So we know that Joshua took over, and it's very interesting why. So I want to share with you a story. It's always possible to connect to a lineage. So there's a really incredible story. The founder of the Kabbalah Learning Center here in the United States, Rav Berg, that's how most people know him. So Rav Berg studied from his teacher, Rav Yudah Tzvi Brandwein, and he studied from his teacher, the founder of the Kabbalah Center in Jerusalem in 1922, Rav Yehuda Ashlag. And there's many, many incredible books written by Rav Ashlag that are, a lot of what I'm bringing you here is his wisdom. And I hope to continue to bring you a lot more. So at some point, Rav Berg, this is, we're talking probably late 60s here, early 70s, Rav Berg met Karen Berg. She wasn't obviously Berg at the time, but he met Karen. And they shared a kind of a very strange working relationship. She didn't really care for him, and I don't think he cared for her too much either. And then they went their own ways, and at some point later, I'm not going to go into the long details of the story, but they reconnected and they had a reason to meet. And she kind of learned more about who he was and who he'd become and how he had been learning from this Rav Brandwein and become very spiritually awakened beyond just his yeshiva and rabbinical teachings. And she became very interested in learning more. Now, this has never been done in the Kabbalistic world. A Kabbalistic rabbi had never passed his wisdom on to a woman, and he didn't really know what to do about it. And so after several discussions, he says, I'm going to have to consult with my own teacher, with my own rabbi, and try to understand what I should do about this. Now, he hadn't shared during this entire time that his rabbi, Rabbi Brandwein, had passed away a few years before. He didn't share it with her when he told her that I'm going to speak with my rabbi. He was relying on what he had relied on in the past for guidance, which is some type of prophecy, meeting him in a dream, speaking to him, having some type of inspiration from him. So they agreed to meet some point later. That time came and went. They came to whatever it was, a diner or coffee shop to meet, and he was prepared to tell Karen that he didn't get any prophecy. Nothing came to him, and so therefore, I'm going to have to make the decision that I can't teach you. I don't know what else to do. So they began to sit down, and Karen says, before we talk, I just want to share something with you. Last night, I had a dream. I was in Jerusalem. I was walking through the town. I met this man, and he began to speak to me in a language I didn't understand, and he was wearing this particular thing, and he had this symbol on his jacket, and all these things. And Rob Berg looked at her and said, that was my teacher. That's Rob Brandwein. And apparently Rob Brandwein came to you instead of coming to me. And now I understand the lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this, and I understand that I'm supposed to pass along some of this wisdom and make you my partner in sharing this. And I think you'll find a lot of people, they find themselves connected to, it could be a family member, but a lot of times you'll see people carry around pictures, like you'll see them carry around pictures of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's a very common thing. You'll see them, or they'll have a picture of him on their desk, or you'll see it, they have pictures of their teachers, their great rabbis who have passed away on their desk. The Rav always had a picture of Rav Brandwein, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and Rav Ashlag on his desk, even though the only one of those that he ever met was Rav Brandwein. And he spoke to them. I'm not sure what else to say. He spoke to them and he found inspiration from them. And that's what it means to be committed to a mission on behalf of that other person. We'll speak about this a little bit more too, but Rav Berg was unquestionably committed to his teacher's mission, to Rav Brandwein's mission. Rav Brandwein was committed to Rav Ashog's mission, and you can see it in Rav Berg's writings. You can see it in the letters between Rav Brandwein and Rav Berg. It's very, very clear, and it's available to us if we find that person where we can connect to their mission, and that will truly connect us to the true mission, again, all the way back to Hashem, and hopefully bring us great inspiration in the coming weeks and months. And
Is it safe to say that every Jew needs a mission?
I mean, every Jew comes with a tikkun. So I guess I'm going to say that they come with a built-in mission. Now, how they go about correcting their tikkun, I would say it's probably easier if you also have that. It's easier to follow the halachot. It's the easiest way, as crazy as it sounds, the easiest way to become a better person and overcome the limitations that you have and correct your tikkun, which is what tikkun means, to find a correction, is through the halachot, is through learning the Torah, is through having a teacher, is through having a mission. I mean, it's the easiest way to do it. If you have these things, these give you the best chance of doing it. Otherwise, the way to do it is through pain and suffering. That's the other option. You want to learn by experience? You can feel pain and suffering and depression all day long. It can be thrown at you from every which direction. But if you choose to follow this path, you'll find that you're awakened through a different way. It's not that you won't necessarily experience the same things, but you won't experience them as pain. You won't experience them as suffering. You won't experience them as depression. You'll experience them as an awakening and a closeness to Hashem. So, and that's what the wisdom, that's what the Kabbalistic wisdom is meant to enlighten you to. It's meant to enlighten you to the fact that, again, these halachot, they're not to drive you to be better. They're there to inspire you to be better and to give you a path that allows you to see that the world was made for you and not happening to you. That's what it's there for. So I don't know how to answer a question specifically about mission, but...
Great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody. God willing, we will find a time for class next week, and I will let you know.